A belief that a lot of my students have is that once you've learnt, heard, made summaries of, or know the topic, whatever that you're working with, you should be able to use it in questions and exams fairly easily. It should be a smooth process. I heard it, yeah, it makes sense, I know it, I've learnt it, and now I should be able to use it. So there's that belief that this should be a smooth process. So what happens then is you learn something, you go to class, you do revision, and you okay, yeah, all right, I kind of get this. And then you do a question, and it doesn't really look familiar. You're not quite sure what to do, and it doesn't really make sense, and you wouldn't have gotten to the solution, or you didn't get to the solution. And the belief then is that the problem is your knowledge. I need to go back to the knowledge, because if I knew my stuff, then I would be able to use this easier. I should know the questions and I should know the answer. And again, this comes from the way that we learned in the past, where there was a very direct line between what you were taught and how you were asked. And there was a limited set of applications, if you will, and if you did a couple of questions, then by the time you did the next question, they looked familiar. So there was like a limited database of knowledge that you needed, and everything was kind of examined within that. So that develops a belief that, okay, I know it, I understand it, so I should be able to do it, not a problem. The reality is, as you get to higher levels in a professional qualification, the reality is what they're doing is saying, here's your basic knowledge base, your laws, standards, regulations, theory, guidelines, whatever. Here's your knowledge base, and you're going to have to use that knowledge base to apply to tons of different situations. Way too many situations than you'd be able to list off in a textbook. So we can't give you a comprehensive list of all the types of things that you're going to have to do with this and how it works, but you're going to have to be able to take your knowledge and look at the situation in front of you and go, okay, that's relevant, that's not relevant. What are they doing here? Okay, the ability to apply is not an instant process. It doesn't matter how fabulously you know your stuff. And this is, again, is a belief, is that if I knew my stuff better, I would know this, I would be able to do this. It's a totally different skill. Step one is getting an awareness and an understanding of the knowledge base. But step two is then saying, okay, I need to practice using this. You need to practice exposing yourself to different situations, different questions, different scenarios, different industries, different types of things, so that you can learn how to work with this. My students study their knowledge as though, and they build these beautiful crystal statues, and it's crystal, and they spend an enormous amount of time making these crystal statues, like absolutely gorgeous. But the problem is they're extremely fragile, and you can't touch them much, you can't manipulate them. So the expectation is that this is what this is going to look like. This is my crystal statue, and wherever I go, it's coming with me just exactly like this. And we have to be very careful with it. We can't take pieces of it off. Don't touch it too much because it's going to break. So our knowledge is very brittle. In reality, knowledge is like clay. And when I teach you knowledge, I'm giving you a ball of clay and I'm going, this is what it looks like, this is the color. And your job then is to say, okay, what do I need to build? I need to make a mug. Okay, so I need this color, I need that color, I need this type of clay, and I need to mold it as I go. And that's a skill. You know clay, you understand clay, you've seen it, you work with it, but now you've got to learn how to work with it in different situations. Okay, next I need to make a bowl, a mug, a vase, whatever the case is. I need to be able to play with it, pull it apart. For this particular situation, I need that and not that. I need that and not that. The next situation looks similar-ish, but it's not quite the same, so I need that and not that. So when we're studying, students really work on their knowledge as these beautiful crystal statues, but then that's all they've got. And when you poke at it, especially as a lecturer, when I challenge my students and I poke at their knowledge, they like, draw back because you're going to break my crystal. And if I kind of say to them, yeah, but what about this? And I question them about their knowledge, it's like their crystal statue smashes and that, okay, I feel like I've got nothing. I'm back to square one. So it's very important to realize that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you if you're in a situation where you've learned stuff and you look at a question, you have to apply it to something and you go, oh, yeah, I can see it's this topic, but I have no idea how to do this. I have no idea I don't actually know how this applies. That's not about, I don't know my knowledge well enough. That's about the skill of saying, how do I use my knowledge here? How do I learn to take the relevant things out and leave the relevant things in? How do I learn to do that? That's a skill that comes with being exposed to different situations. So I almost say to my students, you need to experiment. Let me use it in this. So if in accounting, for example, you may have a set of rules or you may have a set of guidelines. You can imagine if you just think about the dynamics of the difference between a company run by one person versus a medium-sized company versus a large company that's unlisted versus a listed company, you can't say the same things would apply here. Different things are important, different things are not important. Do you then say, okay, well, whatever knowledge I have, I need to have a textbook that gives me a table that says, if I'm dealing with a one-man business, that's what I do. If I'm dealing with a medium business, that's what I do. If I'm dealing with... That's kind of what my students are looking for, so that they're never in a position where they're faced with a situation that their knowledge doesn't fit into. So that's a very important belief that we need to work on and be aware of, is your knowledge will take time to turn into use. It's not going to be instant. That does not mean there's anything wrong with you. It does take time. The smartest people on earth will take time to take a new piece of knowledge, something that they understand, they know really well, and go, okay, now I need to practice how to use this in different scenarios, in different industries, in different places, in different circumstances, with different clients, and different, whatever the case is.